a passion for ignorance comes actually from psychoanalytic text by Jacques Lacan, a French psychoanalyst, who has borrowed the term passion for ignorance from Buddhist studies. It is known that in the 50s, Jacques Lacan attended lectures on Buddhism at the Parisian University Sorbonne. And at that time, he was sort of kind of following the reasoning presented also by a famous Buddhist monk, Valpula Rahula, who wrote the book What the Buddha Taught. And it is from this kind of a background that, in a way, Lacan develops his own take on ignorance. Why a passion? Now, the first question is whether people truly want to know. And, in psychoanalysis, it is kind of usual that people come to the first session with the idea that they would like to know about their suffering or what is behind their suffering, that they would like to come to the core of their potential traumas. However, very quickly, analysts observe that this desire to know goes away, and people quite often embrace, ignorance, or they embrace denial, they embrace negation, which are all different, but are heading in the slightly similar direction of not coming close to some knowledge which sort of might exist in the unconscious. So a person's kind of conscious and his or her unconscious here are on two different levels. And so psychoanalysis observes this ignorance in regard to the known, quite often being linked maybe to some traumatic experience that the person has repressed, pushed away, pushed out of his or her consciousness. The other important thing is also that the ignorance is in some way present also on the side of the analyst. The analyst should not be in the position of the person who knows. Although someone comes to analysis with the perception that, the analyst is someone who might interpret something for them or at least pose important questions, we should not expect that the analyst in the traditional Freudian, post-Freudian domain should be the one who would guide you and give you advice. This is different from, let's say, contemporary coaches. So the subject, in a way, supposes that the analyst knows, but the analyst needs to resist in the kind of a confidence that he or she actually has knowledge about the patient's unconscious desires, which is why there is a position of ignorance. The subject of the analyst actually should be a little bit almost like a kind of an idiot, someone who does not in advance claim a particular kind of a knowledge and allows the subject, the analysant, to work through his or her desires at his or her own pace. Of course, the analyst will, pose important questions, will bounce back what he or she hears from the analysant. Now, the other important element when we are talking about the passion for ignorance is sort of the ideology. It's sort of like the kind of the social symbolic background in which we live. The so-called big other, what in Lacanian psychoanalysis is called the big other, and that is institutions, language, written and unwritten rules around us, and especially in a way culture, but language as such, that sort of is the principal element through the process of socialization. So here we can see that there has been, a kind of a shift from, what Michel Foucault was in the second half of the 20th century talking about when he was kind of analyzing the relationship between power and knowledge. Today, we can say that there is an important link between power and ignorance. And, what is happening is that on the one hand, we have terms like knowledge-based economy, which appears, very enlightening, as if our economy truly is based on knowledge. And also, we might have a wrong perception that knowledge is sort of shared, easily available to a point it is. Everyone now can go and Google. However, behind the knowledge that we get through, the search engines, are algorithms which are already sorting this knowledge. They're creating a kind of a hierarchy between informations which we don't know exactly how, they are made, the hierarchies. How the algorithms operate is often a secret. So what we are more and more observing is what Lindsay McGoey, a British sociologist, has called strategic ignorance, which is that those in power are intentionally playing with keeping people in the dark. Now, this happens, for example, with big corporations, especially, when something goes wrong, we can observe all kinds of deniers at work. For example, with the famous British petroleum oil spill in the Mexican Gulf, there was all kinds of deniers at work. Everyone in the corporation appeared, to be in one way or another, in denial of what was actually happening. And, the question emerged, was it really possible that people, especially up in the hierarchies, didn't know about, the dangers, and when the oil spill happened, they still denied what actually was going on? Or, was it that, they were simply in one way or another closing their eyes? Now, this kind of a strategic ignorance is sort of part also of the way information is transmitted to people. Again, quite often the power mechanisms use it to their advantage. But another type of ignorance, which is embedded with the so-called knowledge economy, is discussed by Joan Roberts and John Armitage. They are scholars in the domain of management studies, and they claim that actually we should rename knowledge economy into ignorance economy, since it relies on many strategies to limit access to knowledge. Now, some strategies involve patents, others involve copyright, and still others sort of are linked to the opacity regarding big data. And we know that big data is often called the new gold or the new oil. Whoever has access to big data, has an enormous advantage in regard to not only knowing potential desires of people, but as we have seen with Cambridge Analytica, also they have, with the help of big data, corporations like this, the possibility to manipulate people's opinions, and of course, from marketing, we know, to manipulate people's desires. So these are kind of new elements of ignorance which are embedded in the way society is functioning. Now, still different kind of take on ignorance comes from philosophy, where through centuries now we have been debating what is there to be known, and sort of what is the power of the unknown. And here, of course, we should not forget the medieval philosopher and theologian Nicholas de Cusa, who invented the term docta ignorantia, learned ignorance. It was Cusa who sort of pointed out that what is important is.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below. Or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.